Morning Blues for Monday the 27th of January 2025. Question of the day for you. If Rob Sanchez is the answer, what is the question? That was the title of my Substack piece this week. Please go and check it out. Link in the description box below. We are talking about Rob Sanchez, but why he's kind of a symptom of the problems at Chelsea. So there's a lot in there. Please go and check it out. Give me your feedback on the piece. And I do enjoy writing those pieces on Substack, so please go and check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, Morning Blues. Usually there's a lot of news to break down, but I mean, a lot of the news that's come out in recent days since the Man City defeat on Saturday night are kind of similar. It's the whispers, it's the rumours, it's the, to be cynical, briefings about Chelsea's supposed or potential transfer business, and it's the similar names. New talks for Tell from Bayern Munich. Will they actually submit a bid for Alejandro Garnacho? And the potential players who could be leaving between now and deadline day. There might be a new striker, but probably not till the summer. You know, Sesko and Delap being mentioned. And I think it's notable that a lot of people are not taking that stuff at face value anymore. Like, they're not. There was a time when like the transfer dopamine would be such and so powerful that people would just, anytime any talk of a player signing for Chelsea would be so powerful that, you know, they wouldn't care whether it was a good or bad signing, whether it was a legitimate source or not. People would just be rabid about transfers. And I think it says a lot, and the way people have come to think about Chelsea and the way the club acts, particularly in the media, is that they don't want to hear it, really. They don't even, you know, the idea of signing players, particularly ones we don't need, there's not even that kind of belief of, well, we're going to get to see a transfer announcement, we're actually going to see Chelsea sign a player. That's enough to get people over the line and be positive. And I want to speak today about something that I talked about in my live stream and my watch along. Please go and check out Big Up. I'll be doing more watch alongs, probably more for away games than home games, because obviously I go to the Bridge as a season ticket holder. But games, I'll let you know ahead of time when I'm doing a watch along, but it's fun to do. Not great when Chelsea aren't winning, but I want to get back to doing them a lot more. And please let me know if you want to see more live streams on the YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, it was about Maresca's quotes before the game, because I think they are very revealing. And he also gave some quotes about progress and whether Chelsea are making progress or not, that got a lot of people riled up, rightly so. And then we'll talk about some of the player pronouncements and posts on social media after the game, because I do have a nuanced view on that. Not so like black and white over those things, but we'll tell you and we'll delve into it, and I'll hear your thoughts in the comments below on it. So Enzo Maresca, it's this interview with Sky Sports, and the clip that did the round. Felix Johnston was the one who posted it. That's where I saw it on Saturday. And I suggest, you know, whenever there's an interview and a clip gets taken out of context, not maybe out of context, but out of a longer interview, I always suggest go and watch the full interview. But I think for what we're talking about today, his words are pretty clear, and it's not like Maresca has just moved to England and he hasn't spoken English before, even if it's not his first language. I think it was pretty clear. So I'll play the clip, and what you infer from it is that the plan for this season was not actually black or white, you have to get top four. It's actually next season, and in the season after that, 26-27, would be when Chelsea challenged for the title.
And speaking about going in the right direction, consistently you said Chelsea aren't in the title race this season. In terms of that journey that you're going on, do you think that next season you could put in a real title challenge?
I don't know. The plan with the club was the schedule, you know, that you try to do at the beginning of the season, or when you meet the club for the first time. The schedule was second season, go for top four, and then after the second season, try to compete for a title. So this is also the reason why I said many times that we are ahead of my expectation, because we spent almost all season in top four in the first season. And this show how ahead we are in terms of expectation. Then next year or in 2 years, I don't know. I just try to be focused on this season.
There's a lot of spin, right? And there's a lot of PR, and there's Chelsea have media people, like any big club have media people who speak to the coaches before they speak to the media and give them advice, I'm sure. And there's a lot of crisis management or, use of kind of political phrasing that, is used to kind of protect the club or let the coach know that if you say this, maybe there's going to be a negative reaction. And there is also psychology behind what coaches say. We have to understand that. You can't always take everything they say at face value. Are they doing it to evoke a reaction from their players, to protect their players? We've been here before with loads of coaches, right? That's baked in when we talk about manager quotes. It isn't just simple as me and you talking to each other and me sat here giving you my honest view on something. There's usually a layer, right, between what probably Maresca maybe wants to say. However, he is still he's the most public-facing individual. And I think the fact that he would go out there, even maybe with some understanding of how it would be perceived at this current moment, I think says a lot to me about internally what's going on at the club. The idea that there is no pressure internally that this season has to be about Champions League qualification, and if we do not get Champions League qualification, this season has been a failure, I think is ridiculous. Now, this isn't just me, my own personal subjective opinion. People have pointed this out, and great to see it point out, but you could probably pick out older quotes as well. That in the matchday programme of the final game of last season, the final game from Mauricio Pochettino, there was a message in there from the hierarchy at Chelsea that spoke about attaining regular Champions League football. So they went out of their way to say in a statement, and they've done it before, the briefs in the media about not only getting Champions League football, but the 100-point teams in the future and winning the Premier League, and the 18-page document and the briefing about Pochettino not getting Champions League football, not being good enough. So what has changed between then and now is kind of the big question, right? This is where my theory comes in. I think my theory is that I've always felt post-Pochettino and the mess that created, and then the doubt and skepticism over appointing Enzo Maresca, because it was a risk, has left kind of the sporting directors in a weird conflict of interest in a way, because, and this is just natural, right? Whether this is true or not, but I'd like to think there is still some kind of accountability at Chelsea, or no way back if they sack Maresca. Because if you sack Maresca, then you're looking at a situation where, since they took over, they oversaw the sacking of Graham Potter a few months into their time at the club in April of 2023, backing the appointment of Mauricio Pochettino, but then maybe not sacking him, but him leaving only 12 months later, and then giving Enzo Maresca not just a short-term contract, a 5+1 or 6+1? I can't remember. It was a ridiculously long contract for a Chelsea head coach, and that maybe being blown up in a short period of time as well. I don't know how after that they remain in position. Even if the ambitions of Bela Igbali are not the same as mine, I still can't believe in any serious business that would be acceptable. So I've always found it a bit weird if we got to this stage where Maresca starts struggling, whether they will be hesitant to actually dismiss him because it's tied potentially to their futures. Something to ponder. But, Maresca on his own still has responsibility, and he still should have accountability on his shoulders. You can hold two thoughts at the same time. I think it's fair to point out that Maresca is not the biggest problem at Chelsea, or he's not the thing that fundamentally needs to change that I think will create a bigger improvement. Because who was the one who appointed Enzo Maresca? That's something you have to factor in. That's a longer term reality at Chelsea. And it's why sporting directors deserve a lot more criticism. Whenever Maresca fails, my criticism for him is kind of also aimed at them more so, because they were the one who appointed him. And, Maresca has not done an atrocious job, has he? Like, listen, we're still within touching distance of the top four at this point in the season. It's not as bad as some of us feared in the summer. So on his own, it's not the worst Chelsea performance we've ever seen in our lives, but it's not been great either. And given the form over the past month, it's been pretty atrocious. Like 1 win in 7 is simply not good enough. It just isn't. But when I see Maresca coming out and saying we are making progress, we are better than 1 or 2 months ago, these moments will make us better, it's those things that are going to lose him a lot of patience very quickly. And I don't know why he's saying that. I don't know why coaches feel the need. We're seeing this a lot with Ange Postecoglou at the moment. I don't know why, from a strategic point of view, from a PR point of view, coaches, more so in the modern game, have to come out and gaslight. And I use that word a lot, but I don't know how else we describe this. How can any objective mind look at Chelsea right now and say we are better than we were 2 months ago? Is it because we're doing things aesthetically that more align with what Enzo Maresca wants as a Chelsea head coach? Which then concerns me, because we're not a better football team than we were 2 months ago. Like, literally in almost every category. Sanchez, who was already a liability, has got starkly worse and starkly more devastating for Chelsea, costing us. Our defence has got injuries, and there's been players within that defence who their performances have deteriorated. Our midfield, the performances of Caicedo and even Enzo have dropped again. In attack, our performances have massively dwindled. So in every kind of feasible way, and it was notable that, you know, Man City didn't beat us on Saturday by playing wonderful tiki-taka, possession control, inverted fullback football. They beat us in that second half by Route 1. And I know Joe Tweed's pointed this out, that like there's people even within Chelsea fans who are just obsessed that we've got to play this style of football. And I've always been sceptical of that what made me excited about the start of the season was actually us playing transition football. That's when we look at our best. We do not look at our best when we try and play this aesthetically pleasing kind of intellectual football. I just don't think makes us a better football team. Inverting our fullbacks, what does it do? Other than saying you invert your fullbacks and it sounds trendy. Like, has it actually made us a better football team? I'm not entirely sure. I think what made us a better football team in the first half of the season was being one of the best counter-attacking teams in the league, actually. And that really was just a continuation of what we saw, because it was using the tools at our disposal in our squad, I think, in a really good way. So we're not making progress. It's a lie. That's just that. I'm sorry, Enzo. That's just a lie. And I don't know how that helps him. I don't know how it helps his players. But again, does that speak to the internal environment? You know, the idea that there isn't much expectations, that those expectations are pretty malleable, and that standards, if you want to use that phrase, or just expectation of demands, are not that serious. Like, they're not as serious as me and you have when we look at the team. And that's not us asking and demanding us to win a quadruple every single season. That's just like, can you get Champions League football? Can you try and be a bit more serious in the transfer window? Can you make a decent looking squad that doesn't have obvious holes within it after spending £1 billion? Those are those realistic demands that are not hyperbolic. Now, I know there was also some outrage about what some of the players had to say post-game. Noni Madueke, Nicholas Jackson, Reece James all posting or giving quotes. Reece, as the captain, you know, talking about how this team's only been together for a few months. I understand where he's coming from, but again, not a great thing. Fans don't really want to hear that right now, and I think they're entitled to, because they've already been told that. Again, take it back to that principle of the 4-window plan that the sporting directors wanted to be judged on. We've had those 4 windows now, and to still be told we have to wait a long period of time, especially against a Man City team who had some new players within their first team, one of whom looked completely out of his depth and we exploited right at the start of the game, but didn't exploit enough. Again, it falls on deaf ears. It's a nice sentiment, but unfortunately reality just hits against it. And when you hear your captain, who's just come off the back of a poor performance, say that, it's not great. Madueke too was one of the more positive Chelsea players, but of course his defensive contributions weren't great in that game. It doesn't reflect well when Nicholas Jackson too, who's obviously had a torrid time of it recently and has rightly got a lot of criticism for his performances. I mean, social media to me, it's kind of like, I think if you get outraged about 1 or 2 players, like, you get outraged about all of them, because it's kind of just, unfortunately, the set thing about footballers now on social media. A lot of them don't even post things themselves. I can't say for certain that these players don't post things themselves. Maybe they do, but we know there are some players who hire people to post on social media. And I kind of, it's a little bit, unless those more sincere posts, which you get every now and then. I'm not saying that footballers can't be sincere on social media, but a lot of it kind of just washes over because it's just so standard at the moment. I think Maresca's quotes and Maresca saying that top 4 isn't really that serious, and the moving of goalposts are more concrete and things you should take more seriously than a post on Instagram with a filter I'm not saying those things don't matter. I'm not saying as a fan you have no right to be frustrated by that. I'm just saying I think in terms of what you weight up, like in terms of what actually matters and probably what tells you more seriously about what's going on at the club from the hierarchy, because if you want to put it like this, that feeds down, like the culture that you set feeds down, and maybe that feeds down to a point where players are kind of okay to post those things. So yeah, I mean, we're into the final week, aren't we, in the transfer window? I think deadline day is literally when Chelsea are playing West Ham next Monday, which is the Graham Potter return to Stamford Bridge. It's going to be a long week, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot. I'm sure we're going to get defensive Robert Sanchez. I'm sure we're going to hear some bold moves in the transfer window. Whether any of them come to fruition, I'm not entirely sure. Whether they're just kind of distraction tactics to get people excited. We will be covering them on the channel. Wednesday and Friday are here for Morning Blues. I want to do a Reddit show. I'll look at some Chelsea Reddit stuff, and we may do some tactic shows this week. Let me know your thoughts on content you'd like to see coming up on the show as we head into February, finally out of this mad, just stupidly long month of January, which has been pretty terrible for Chelsea. So those are my thoughts. Have a great Monday, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best.